Hey everybody, it's TC with Freshwaters. And with another bait of the week. This is going to be a bait of the week / beginner series. First of all, the Googan 6-inch dart. They make them smaller. I like to use a 6-inch. It is a Fluke style bait, kind of. Little bit more presentation. I like the tail better. I like the action of this better. This is why I like using this rather than a traditional Fluke style. The other one is the Rapala Crush City. I love to use that as well. This is a smoking shad. This time of year, I love to use the smoking shad. I love to use the 6-inch. It's just the presentation and the action alone. You can slow it down. You can speed it up. You can give this thing a lot of action. You have a lot of control when it comes to Fluke style baits. When it comes to the hooks, I like to use two different kinds depending on why, where, how, temperature, all that good stuff. So number one is the VMC Drop Dead. Honestly, if you're just starting out with a Fluke bait, I recommend the Drop Dead. These are nice, simple to use, get straight down to the point. Or the VMC Heavy Duty Swim Bait Hook, 4 or 5/0. Alright, so that's the bait of the week. Now let's talk about how to set it up. So, it's a really easy way to set this up. That's why I love these VMC Drop Deads and the Heavy Duty Swim Bait. They're super secure. They keep your lure on there. They keep it from moving around. It's a really good hook. It's really sharp. I mean, what else can you ask for in a hook? So, it already has the weight built in, so you don't got to worry about that. Less of a presentation. That's another reason I love these. You take that little spring right there, and then you take the dead center of the nose of your soft plastic. Even if you're using it, on a paddle tail swim bait, it doesn't need to be this style soft plastic. This is how you set it up, period. So, you take that little spring, you can see it kind of pokes out right there. Put it in the dead center of the nose of your lure, and all you do is spin it onto that spring. Make sure it's center. One of the keys to these style narrow, Fluke style swim baits is that everything is really nice and center. So, put it all the way on there. And of course, I've talked about this before, now you need to measure your hook. So, when you measure your hook, you look at the first bend in your hook. When your hook starts to bend, you're going to line it up, and that is where you're going to put the point of your hook into the soft plastic. So, it looks like I'm right there. Run that hook, like I said before, dead in the middle. And that's it. Look at that. It is beautifully weedless. Really good set hook action. So when he bites on there, you go, wow. All you got to do is pull that thing, and it's going to ram right through it, right into his lip, or wherever you hook him. Hopefully it's just his lip. And that's it. That's how you set him up. Now, let's talk about why I like to use these. When it gets colder, these things can get you through the fall. It can get you through a cold winter. I can speed this up. I can slow this down. I can have him sitting on the bottom, just wagging that tail. Like I said, this specific soft plastic can carry me through the winter onto next spring. And that's really why I love to use them. The only difference will be how I retrieve it, the speed, and all that good stuff. Now, the retrieval is super simple. You cast them out, let them sink to the bottom. When this thing sinks to the bottom, the first thing that's going to hit the bottom is this weight on the bottom. So it's going to sit just like that on the bottom. What I like to do is I let it hit the bottom, and then I jerk it. So what I'm doing is scooting it across the bottom like that. This tail is going to go back and forth, back and forth. A lot of the times when I do that little scoot across the bottom, if there's a bass sitting there, they're nailing this thing off the bottom, especially when it's really cold. In the wintertime, I'll keep it at the bottom even longer because they're usually sitting at the bottom moving really slow. I want to make a really easy meal and a really good presentation for that bass or whatever predator is sitting in that cold pond, lake, reservoir, whatever you're fishing that day. So, right now in the fall, I let him hit the bottom, scoot him across with some jerks, and then I bring him up pretty slow. So I'll bring him up, and as I'm bringing him up, I might, throw in some pauses, let him kind of dip back down. I'll throw in some jerks to have that, back and forth motion, and then I'll just retrieve it smoothly back up and recast it, and then start all over again. Where I like to use these things. So, if I see grass or structure like a dam or a bridge, shallow water, really crystal clear shallow water, rocks, I mean, honestly, now I'm naming them, I realize that I'm naming like every structure you can have. So, that's pretty much when I use them. When I see some hydrillas sticking around in the fall, or some live lily pads, I can cast this sucker right in the middle of those lily pads or that grass, because it's so snagless and weedless. Because it has that huge fold, that little flap in there to hide your hook really, really well. So let's talk about as it gets colder, the wintertime. Like I said before, I'm going to let it hit the bottom. I'm going to let it sit there a little longer, or not even a little longer. I significantly longer than I would right now in the fall or the spring. You know, have them sitting there, scoot it across the bottom, get that tail just wagging, and with some pauses. So when I get it wagging, I'll hit a pause. Because what's happening is, if you got a bass sitting over top of him watching, he sees that wag, and he's observing. And then he sees the wag, and then he sees the pause. And when he sees the pause, he's going to snap. That's how I like to retrieve them. There can be 100 different ways, or if you find a way that works for you, use it. The only thing I can do is tell you what works for me and why I like to use it. Anyway, that's it. I'm TC. This is Freshwaters. Thank you for watching.